Good morning and welcome to the Road Maintenance Matters event on the 9th International Road Maintenance Day 2026. My name is Carsten Karcher. I am the Secretary General of the European Asphalt Pavement Association, and I will lead you through the program of today. First, I want to provide some relevant information on the event itself. In the next 2.5 hours, we will have 2 sessions with a short break in between. There will be a roundtable discussion with all speakers of the sessions and the possibility for Q&A after each block of presentations. We will have the pleasure to listen to experts from all over Europe and from different point of views. National road associations from Spain, Denmark, and France in session 1. Speakers from organizations in Brussels and the University of Palermo in session 2. We will cover topics related to road maintenance, like the opinion of people living in municipalities, the great debt in financing, various initiatives, safety aspects, cyclists' viewpoints, digital technologies, and the need for proper road maintenance for the sake of sustainability. The speakers have all gathered here in Brussels in the EAPA TV studio. However, also you, the viewers on the live stream, have the possibility to ask a question. So your interaction with us here in the studio in Brussels is highly requested. We feel that people value real exchange over passive listening. So this event should feel like a live conversation, a European knowledge exchange. For this, we encourage you to send questions in the chat box of YouTube. These questions will be available for me as the moderator. Please also post your content and comments related to this event on the International Road Maintenance Day on your social media channels today, preferable on LinkedIn. Here are some figures of this event for you. Today, we welcome participants from more than 60 countries, and we are connected, and those people are connected to this workshop, so we have more than 300 participants online. Next to the online participants, I also welcome my colleague from the Spanish Asphalt Pavement Association, Juan José Potti. He's the founder of the International Road Maintenance Day back in 2018. Juan José, would you also like to welcome the people online?
Well, first thing, thank you and good morning for all the people here and all the people connected. It's a big pleasure, that's true. It's the 8th edition of the International Road Maintenance Day and the 3rd edition here in Brussels, in Europe. I can say I am very happy to several times in your life you have ideas, and these ideas go down and start. I feel is expanded, and not only here in Europe. This is the European Road Maintenance Forum, and but in other parts of the world, in South Africa, as you know, we have several activities today, and I feel we are on the right way. I wish only to finish because I will have time to say something later. Say thank you to EAPA, thank you, Carsten, thank you, Ralph, to made bigger this idea of the International Road Maintenance Day, and especially thank you, Mega, and all the communication team to expand this idea. Thank you so much, and please.
Yes, thank you, Juan José, for the welcoming words. We also have the president of the European Asphalt Pavement Association with us, Ralph Pomp. Welcome, Ralph. You also want to say some words, please?
Yes, from my side, also a warm welcome to all the listeners online and here in our offices. I hope we have a very fruitful day, a fruitful discussion, and so let's start.
Indeed. So before we ask our guests to give their presentations, I would like to set the scene for this event with 2 slides. So, road maintenance matters. And when you see the title of my presentation, Billions of Euros are missing, you see where the direction is going to. Road infrastructure forms the foundation of a modern, free society. It is built by the community so that everyone can use it, each person in their own individual way. Roads are essential for your bicycle ride to work, to drive to visit grandma, to take the bus to the doctor, or to walk to the kindergarten. The community pays for its construction and maintenance. With the end of this harsh winter in Europe, The full extent of frost damage to our roads, cycle paths, and pedestrian walkways became visible. As every year, repairs will then begin to ensure safe traffic flow. Where fundamental road rehabilitation has been postponed for years due to financial constraints, the situation will become particularly difficult. Temporary repairs are often no longer sufficient, but funding for comprehensive rehabilitation is also lacking in many places. You see here some examples from this spring from the German press. For example, in Germany, it's estimated by the KfW municipal panel from 2025 that the current investment need for road rehabilitation exceeds 53 billion euros for municipalities only. A significant share of the national road network are deteriorating, and without sustained investment, cost will rise sharply. So what does that mean? Whenever a road is bumpy and uneven and has a bad surface condition, that is not only costly for the society, it's also an emission topic. Because with this kind of surfaces, road surfaces, you need more fuel for the individual drivers, for the society, and or you have a less travel distance if you have an electrified car. So the demand for proper roads in municipalities has been especially identified in Denmark in a survey. For this, we invited the best person to speak about this topic from Denmark. So we warmly welcome Jakob Svane. He's the managing director of Asfaltindustrien, the Danish Asphalt Pavement Association, and a board member of the Danish Road Association, with extensive experience in infrastructure policy at Danish and European level. Dear Jakob, we are very curious about the findings from Denmark. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Carsten. And thank you very much for inviting me here. Looking forward to speaking. Thank you very much for all of you who are joining online. The thing is that I'm not particularly sure that the situation on the municipal roads is particularly worse in Denmark than in the rest of Europe. It's probably more or less the same. However, we did do this public poll on the priorities of the population in terms of the municipal elections that was going on this autumn. And what we found was quite interesting, and I am here to share this with you in order to share this experience and perhaps inspire this to be done elsewhere in Europe. First, we touch upon the main problem. As Carsten has just mentioned, this is the same in Denmark. The road maintenance level on the municipal roads has eroded over time. Back in 2017, the last official recount of the state of the municipal road network in Denmark was done, and there it was estimated that there was a backlog of about 4 billion Danish kroner. That is equivalent to more than €500 million on the Danish municipal roads alone. But since 2017, there has been done no such evaluation, but we have seen the budgets being eroded quite substantially. As you can see here from the slide, in current prices, the budgets seem to have been stable. And so the municipalities claim that the investment level is stable. But when you compare it to constant pricing, then you see the erosion over time, because there's no room for the inflationary development here. So the level of investment has deteriorated over the years, so that the budget levels in 2025 were about a third lower, 35% lower than they were in 2017. So as you can imagine, the situation has not improved since 2017 with this kind of budget development. It has clearly deteriorated. And so we were going to do something about this. But how to approach this? We have been talking about these figures for many years, and the politicians have still decided to keep the budgets at what they think is a stable course, but which in reality isn't. So we decided to switch method a bit. We decided to say that we are in a bad situation because we are always being prioritized last, or the road maintenance is always the thing that is cut. And we can say that also with research, because an analysis from the Danish Center for Social Science Research documented that the preference of municipal council members in general were that if they were provided with 1 million Danish kroner extra in budgets, they would prioritize such as schools, kindergartens, elder care, and support for vulnerable citizens. And if needing to cut 1 million Danish kroner, they in general said they would cut administration, they would cut the municipal job center, they would cut culture and leisure, and they would cut road maintenance. So road maintenance is at the very bottom of the prioritization here. And so we saw the same preference in this analysis showed the same preference in 21 as in 25. So this is quite stable. And so we are trying to do something against this. We want away from this from this bottom. We're not sure that we can get into the top, but the first thing about an accident is to stop it. We need to stop the accident. So we need to remove the road maintenance from this category. So how did we go about this? Well, we were thinking, what can convince municipal politicians that road maintenance is also important? We didn't want to say that all these other topics that they are prioritizing is not important, because they are. But road maintenance is also important. And so we clearly couldn't convince them by throwing figures at them. So what budget figures and that they would pay more in the long term? We were trying instead to convince them that their voters think that this topic is important. And so we had the municipal elections in November 25, but we started this project already a year before to prepare. And what we did was to try to determine the citizens' attitude toward road maintenance on a municipal level. It was never done before. Nobody had got the idea to ask the citizens in Denmark about their attitudes toward road maintenance. So there was no knowledge available. So we were discussing, how do we set up such an opinion poll? What to examine, what questions to ask. That was the first step. It was also very important for us to have a neutral, trustworthy data collector. That's a very important aspect as well, so that we weren't doing this ourselves. It was also very important to have reliable data on both national and on some individual municipal levels in order to determine variations across the geography. So we hired an external public affairs bureau, and together we set up the framework for the questionnaire, determined the questions that were going to be asked, and then we hired an external neutral public opinion research institute called Norstat to carry out interviews. And from March to May 25, they collected 5,215 responses across Denmark. That's quite a lot to get a representative sample, but that gave us a full representative sample of the population, both on national level and in 12 municipalities, and also representative regarding a lot of demographic variables on age, gender, education, urban, rural municipalities, etc. So that was why we aimed for such a large sample of responses. The 12 municipalities was about less than 1/8 out of the 98 municipalities there are in Denmark. They were selected also by us, being larger and more strategically important, because the 12 municipalities account for more than a third of the total Danish population. And the results were staggering. When asked about prioritizing various political aspects, the citizens put infrastructure quite high on the agenda, surprisingly high. We'd been happy just to be in the top half. I'm sorry for this slide being in Danish, but it was not able to translate it. But here you see the top priority is elder care. The next one is public schools, as was to be expected. Then we have the municipal economy and leadership, also quite important issue at municipal elections. But number 4 is infrastructure. Everybody here was asked to prioritize 3 subjects. And we believe that probably a lot has prioritized infrastructure as the third one, after elder care and public schools. But quite staggeringly, we are above kindergartens, we are above health, we are above social vulnerable people, we are above environment, above public transport, above a lot of other issues that are seen by municipal council members as very important. But when citizens are going to prioritize, they prioritize differently. This is a key takeaway. What the poll also showed was that the citizens prioritize infrastructure because of safety. It's because of safety in their daily lives that the citizens want a bigger focus on infrastructure. We gave out some statements that the people participating in the opinion poll could agree with or disagree with. And as you see here, the vast majority agrees with that good roads and bicycle paths is about safety in the daily life. As you see, more than half of all respondents say that walking and cycling on uneven roads makes it unsafe. That is also quite a staggering number, that more than half of the respondents say that they feel unsafe when walking on these uneven surfaces. Also, more than half of respondents say that potholes, they're worried that potholes might damage their car. So this is a key takeaway also, that safety is actually very important when communicating road maintenance to municipal council members. And we have also tried to shift our communication accordingly. So this was a big takeaway for us as well. The last results is just some figures. It also showed that quite a big, not a majority, but quite a big portion of the respondents said that they did not think that the roads and bicycle paths were maintained sufficiently. And they also identified the situation to be deteriorating in the last 5 to 10 years. So what we did on top of the opinion poll was that we were doing a lobbying campaign. We had meetings with existing mayors and mayoral candidates in 10 out of the 12 municipalities. We came out with this, made a front page story in the national newspaper in June 25. We had the launch of the official launch of the poll results in September. Major coverage by regional TV stations and regional newspapers. And then we also could use this for meeting with national political party organizations to promote this in the municipal election campaign. And after the elections, also before the elections, we were widening the scope by also building alliances with other associations, the Danish Road Association, where I'm a board member, but also the Association of Motorists, the Cyclists Association, the Road Hauliers Associations, etc., to try to promote this topic in the election campaign. And so the Danish Road Association also launched the so-called Road Pledge in October, where they had tried to get all the candidates for the municipal election to sign a pledge to prioritize roads and bicycle paths in the coming term. And more than 700 candidates from all 98 municipalities signed this pledge. And it also got a lot of newspaper and media coverage when this came out in October. And in November, just shortly before the election, the Association of Motorists also launched a membership poll in November supporting the exact same story. So there was a new round of media coverage by then. And in this way, we managed to influence the election campaign. I'm not saying that we actually managed to influence the election result. We have no we have no base for claiming that. But we became part of the election campaign. We saw that road maintenance was an issue that was discussed more in this election campaign, and we got a confirmation of our opinion poll by the national radio and TV station. They published their own opinion poll in November, shortly before the elections, and the municipal results confirmed the results from our poll in May. So it was the exact same municipalities where the infrastructure issue was high on the agenda, came out for this poll in November as we had identified in May. And also more than 40% of the candidates that signed the road pledge actually got elected. That was better than average. On average, 25% of all candidates running are elected for the municipal elections. So there was a better chance of getting elected when having signed the road pledge. We're very happy with that, of course. And also when counting up the media coverage for our association during 2025, we had record media coverage. Last year, we got new political connections, we got new alliances out of this. So there was a big result for our association in connection with this campaign. And so this is only just the beginning, because the election campaign is of course now over. The election has taken place. New mayors is coming in. So our target is now to build new relations with all the new mayors and key municipal stakeholders over the next 4 years. We're going to increase the awareness of the opinion poll, and we are going to have new meetings, and we are also going to produce new facts and knowledge. We have an upcoming desk research report on the socioeconomic consequences for the citizens when road maintenance is lacking, just as an example. And of course, we're going to follow up on the road pledge and on the budgets for the road maintenance, and maybe, who knows, will we repeat the campaign again in 2029. So that is our experience, and I hope to have given some inspiration and that you have any questions.
Thank you, Jakob. Very, very interesting presentation. A lot to discuss about. We will have the Q&A and the panel discussion after all the presentations. So that brings me to remind the participants online to send in their questions to the chat box on YouTube. Yeah, and we will definitely don't miss your questions at the end of this presentation block. We are excellent in time. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Wilfried Piard, the Technical Affairs Manager at Route de France, so the French Road Association. He will talk a little bit more technical about the backlog in road maintenance, the so-called gray debt. Take your time. We are curious about your presentation.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. We are speaking about billions of dollars we are missing on the road. I'm going to make you a short presentation of what we have done in France to have an estimation of what we call the gray debt and the preventive maintenance. Just to be sure. Okay. Okay, I will start with a presentation. I'm trying to go. We'll start with a presentation of the French road network. The most important in this is we have a classification of our network in 4 classes. First is motorways. As you can see, it's a very, very little part of the network. Second part, we've got the national roads. It's not very important too. And as you can see, the most important for us is departmental roads and local roads, because as you can see, there are about more than 1 million kilometers. You have to keep in mind this, because when we have made our calculus to estimate the gray debt, this repartition is quite important. I'm going to show you a table. The most important in this table is what you can see in the green and the red part, because we have made the evaluation of the passenger transport in terms on. It's quite difficult for me to read. So sorry. The most important. As you can see, first part of the table, we have the passenger transport expressed in terms of billions passenger per kilometer, and on the lower part of the table, we have the freight transport expressed in terms of billions of tons per kilometer. We have made a comparison between the road network and the highway network. So we are going to the next slide, because I will have a conclusion on these numbers. And the other side, with other things we have looked was the evolution of the transport network length. As you can see, when you are looking at the made road network, there is no no evolution in the length. The most important evolution is what you can see on the railway network in terms of high-speed network, what we call TGV in France, maybe you know. And so what we have summarized in this slide is the fact that in 13 years, the passenger travels distance in terms of kilometers has increased by about 16%. The transport of goods and in tons of per kilometer, is almost stable. Dealing with the evolution of the length of the network, the most important thing is the fact that the road network in the municipality block has increased a lot, about 10%. Essentially due to the fact there was new construction, etc. And for the highway, for the rail network, there is a high-speed increase in the high-speed rail network was increased by about 45%. So the conclusion of the analysis of this evolution of the network in France, because we have some issues with the comparison between railway and roadway, but is the following one: road remains the primary means of transport for people and goods, and for us, it's a very good thing. Now let's speak about technical point of view of the way we have estimated the grid depth and the preventive maintenance. So let's start by the evaluation of the preventive maintenance. There is a value which is commonly estimated, saying that the replacement value of the French network is estimated at 2 trillion euros for several years. But when we are looking at this number, this assessment was dated from 2010. So there were between this number and actually there were 15 years, and during these 15 years we have evolution of the network and evolution of the construction costs. So we need to update this value, and we make a very simple calculus as it's shown on this slide. We estimate that the evolution of the network gives an increase of about 10% of the cost, and the evolution of the cost gives an increase about 30%. The 30% is due to the fact that we are working with a spatial index in public roads, which is called TP1, and I show you the evolution between 2010 and 2024. So if we make a very, very simple calculus by updating the value of 2,000 billion euros, we arrive to the final number, which is 2,800 billion euros. Very big updated. We have to keep in mind this value because it's quite important for the following of my presentation. Now let's speak about the way we are going to speak of preventive maintenance. I will start by showing you the level of quality of infrastructure in the world. It's a ranking of economic France. As you can see, we decrease in quality in France for both road and railway network. For the road, we were number 2 in 2010, sorry, and 10 years after, we have a decrease we have changed our classment. Then we have the same conclusion for the railway networks. So we need to, as you said, it's very important to have some operation on road maintenance, but we have to estimate how much billions we need to have to be sure that we have a safety road. As you can see on this figure, this is a very known one. It's a source, which is a National Road Office. You have got two types of arrows. You got the blue arrows, the little ones, which is the preventive maintenance. It's the work you have to done to be sure that your road will be always safe. And in the purple arrow, you've got what we call the grid depth, meaning that if you don't do anything for a long time on your road, you will have to pay a lot of money just to be sure that you will be at the same level of safety. And I will give you the way we have calculated the two values. So I'm going to not to spend too much time on this slide, but there is a political senator who has given a definition of what we call preventive maintenance. And so we have applied this definition to define what works we have to done to be sure that our road will be safety. It's written here. So we have resurfacing, any cracks, cleaning of ditches, and surface draining system. And with this kind of number, we have an assessment of the cost of preventive maintenance in relation to the replacement of value of the pavement portion of the road infrastructure. But, on the other part of the slide, it's a comment. So I won't spend too much time on it. So don't care about what is written in this table, but the most important, you find the 4 classes of the network in France: motorways, national roads, departmental roads, and local roads. But there was a subdivision in each each categories, because we have differences in the geometry of this road. Meaning, for example, if you have got some motorways, the width of the roads is less 30 meters, but it's quite different if you're looking at the local roads. So we made the difference within. We have an estimation of the, because I have quite difficult to read what it is on the. Okay. We have so in the third column we have an estimation of the replacement value, which is written, but this replacement value is for the whole infrastructure. So we have a percent of the portion of the road construction, which is given on the 4th row, and so we have estimation of the repacking value of the road, and after in the last row we have defined a proportion of what we need to have a preventive maintenance. All the numbers I'm showing you are assumption we have made in Route de France. I think it's a good number because we have a lot company in Route de France and they give us the data. And just to conclude, the most important for you and for us is to see that when I'm looking at the network replacement value, I will have the same value that the calculus I have made before, the very simple calculus. So this is good. It gives trust in the way we have worked. And when you look at the second value, the preventative maintenance is estimating of 14 billion euro each year. We were speaking about billions euro missing. This is the first number. This is only for the preventive maintenance. Now let's speak about the grid depths. To have an estimation of the grid depth, we have worked on a very famous report, which is a Road National Office report. Every year, each year, there is a publication of a report which gives information of statistics on the level of quality of our network. We have started with a national non-concessionary network, in which the most important for you is to look at on the figure at the value which is on the right side, and you've got red part, green part, and inside you got yellow part. The red part means that your network is in poor condition. The yellow part means you need to have maintenance on your network, and in green part you have nothing to do. And as you can see, for the national road, more than 30% require maintenance, and less than 19% are considered to be in poor conditions. So we have to make very big works. What are the works we have assumed? So we say that if we need to have an evaluation of grid depth, we need to have achieved a catching up to have a level of quality which is a higher one. So we estimate that 25% of the network will need a new 6 centimeter wearing cross with 5% surface treatment to a thickness of 20 centimeter. This is value of all the road companies. So it's assumption. Maybe it can be, we can have some comments on it. That's not a problem. And we estimate that less than 19% of the network will need a 30 centimeter pavement structure, because this is a very big important works on this part of network. So when we make our calculus, we have an estimation of 5 billion euros, but these 5 billion euros have to be divided by the half the lifespan of the road surface, just to avoid future degradation. It means between 6 and 7 years. In conclusion, for the national roadwork, we need to have, just to erase the grade up, we need to have less than 800 million euro each year. We did the same thing with the departmental road, so I don't spend too much time. The most important is for the departmental roads, the value is estimated to 2.65 billion euro per year. If you just remember, departmental roads, it's a quite important part of the French network. National roads, it's only 12,000 kilometers, so it's not the same value. So just that for national network, we need about, if you remember, less than 800 million euros. For the departmental road, we need 2.65 billion euros per year. But bad news, when we are looking at the report of the National Road Office, we didn't have any information, so we weren't able to make some calculus. It's not very good for us because local networks is about 700,000 kilometers. It's quite important. More than 50% of the global network. Donc, if you are just to keep in mind some values, 14 billion euros to have the preventive maintenance, and if you make the addition of the two last values, it's about 3.4 billion euros each year for the grade up, but we don't have the information for the local roads. I will conclude my presentation by a certain part of conclusion. The most important for us is the third point. We have in France a roadmap on decarbonization in which we have identified different levels to decrease our footprint carbon. And so we have a reduction target of 55% at the 2030 horizon and less 85% in 2050. So for this, we make a lot of works in Hauts-de-France, and we need to have a very good network to be sure that all we are doing on decarbonization will give good solution for people. And just to finish, all the costs we have in general for the preventive maintenance are evaluated by using what you call hot mix fast techniques. But I want to precise that in France, we've got a very, very network, which is what we call a T3 traffic, meaning that we are less than 150 every trucks a day, the departmental road and the local road. And for this traffic, we have other solution that we call technique solution. And I will say that we've got national research actually on this subject, just to develop other techniques. And for other things, just to conclude, we need to have the use of variance environmental variance in the public markets. And in the 1st of July on this year, all the public project owners will have the obligation to have a environmental criteria in their market. So we will be able to propose to our clients what we call environmental variance, and to evaluate them, we have a special application which is called SafeTP. I think everybody knows this because Sebald made a presentation in the last meeting of EAPA, and I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you, David. A lot of slides, yeah. And I'm very technical. So we will come to that in the Q&A later on. I just want to remind the people online that they sent in questions. I have only received one so far, so please be more active, be more interactive with us. I'm quite sure there will be some questions on the presentation of Wilfried also. Now we will have the last presentation of this block, a presentation from the founder of the International Road Maintenance Day, Juan José Potti. Juan José, you have an important message to tell us, so please, the floor is yours. Oh, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, the idea is try to update, to give you an overview about the initiatives on road maintenance in Spain and Europe. The proposal was Spain, but seeing the activity developed last year, and you will understand why I prefer to talk about Europe. Last year, in the same place, I tried to defend a philosophy named CARES. Based on the idea, typically we defend the importance of maintenance based on two criteria: comfort and safety. Evidently, comfort is delicate. It's not the best argument to defend the importance or to invest money when you try to solve another question based on education, information, of many things. Comfort feel not necessary, too much. And safety, I absolutely agree with you, with your presentations. It's very important, but some people can change the argument saying, well, but if the condition of the road is very good, the people drive faster. It's not true, really. Only a few. Opposite. Worse condition, the people reduce the speed. Well, it's not only a question of speed, it's a question of the consequence of the potholes or several things. Well, but in all the cases, these only two arguments, or is the most used arguments, I consider is not enough. It's for that I write a document, was in Spanish, trying to explain all the elements, all the proposals I made in the past International Road Maintenance Day 2025, and I received Carsten and several people from EAPA was in this Congress. The Congress was in Croatia, and I proposed to talk about the road condition much more than the comfort and safety, fuel consumption and emission. I made a presentation. Evidently, I have 20 minutes. I have more time to explain my arguments, and several people was present. In particular, Goran Joski was there. That's very interesting. Please, can you to my country in October to talk the same argument? And I repeat, and I don't repeat exactly, but I made this conference the same argument, but with a big difference. I arrived one day later. On the first lane, I find a guy from the administration is close to you. It's not a guy, it's the president of the country and minister of the transport. Wow. I say good morning. Evidently, he started to talk something, and I feel, because it's very normal, after the words outside. No. Was during all my conference, he's very interested to know which is these arguments, and was surprised. Probably it's the first time a president of the country heard these arguments. And in this conference was also Slovenko, and Slovenko say me, please repeat the conference on Bled at the end of November. Well, which is the arguments? Which is the real arguments I propose to use? And last year here in this same place, José Carlos Valdecantos and Camino Arce explained the experience made in Madrid around M50 using big data from the cars. Evidently, as you know, from the cars, all the cars, modern cars, are connected, and we can obtain a lot of information from the car in terms of consumption, in terms of saying the evenness of the pavement, etc., etc. And we do that, and we obtain a very important thing. On the past, we saying today, this road feels worse. Well, that's okay. But now, thanks to the big data from the cars, connected cars, we can say this section generates extra fuel burn and available CO2. We have elements, we have the quantification, we have all the elements to demonstrate, to quantify this impact. Evidently, we are the same cars, the same driver, the same, but changing the pavement, we can, depending on smooth pavement or bad pavement, we can improve the consumption of energy, we can improve the consumption of fuel, and we can modify the emissions derivated of the use by the cars. It's evidently the road itself influences a lot of in the emissions. In the case of M50, is the only applied to 28 kilometers. It's a very short. M15 is in Madrid is around 85 kilometers. We select seven sections, and finally we confirm we invest around 22 million euros, and we save energy much more than this value in 1 year. This is a very important thing. Understand, we have the capacity to reduce the consumption and to reduce the energy of all the cars used. Evidently, we don't have this information. We don't have until now this information, but we have all the elements to do that. It's for that I propose to use this philosophy CARS, 5 letters, C-A-R-E-S. C, comfort, is safety, first and the first and the last are the same, but I introduce 3 more elements. Ahorro is a Spanish word, is saving energy, is the second, A. Saving energy is derivated of the use of the saving energy, improving the quality of the payment. The third is very important, especially for the drivers. Reduction of fuel, reduction of consumption, reduction of energy in terms of combustion or electric car. And E, emissions or efficiency, we collect 3 arguments more than comfort and safety: energy, reduction, and emission. And we have all the elements, thanks to the big data, we have all the elements to collect these 5 criteria. And this is my proposal, to collect these 5 arguments and push on this way. Road maintenance is not longer only in an engineering line item. It is an energy policy, climate policy, and economic policy. We have the capacity, changing the ifness of the payment, to change the energy, the consumption of energy, to reduce the consumption of fuel, and to reduce the emissions only at the level of the infrastructure. It's for that I consider is at least so important as comfort and safety. I feel we have another elements very important, especially during these days. We have a special days in terms of energy, and we are very sensitive to that. But emissions, evidently, Europe go Green Deal, the famous Green Deal. Well, that's important. But derivative of that, I feel on the past we said on the panel, sorry for the inconvenience. We work on this job, on this sector. Why not to change the message? On this section, we invest this money. Probably the money is not information is not the most important information. If you can share, why not? But my proposal is to share. Thanks to the job, you can reduce, driver, 8.9% of consumption, thanks to the evenness of the payment. Transmit to share this information to the drivers, or to share this information at emissions. Evidently, we know perfectly which is the traffic. We know the reduction of. It's possible to share that, and I feel it's more active, more positive than only to share the investment made. This is the example. We invest and we recover. And the good news is in Spain, we try to collect at responsible of the roads, in particular, SEIT is the responsible of the M50, and Ministry of Transport try to recover this saving of energy, of the energy saved by the drivers. And the paradox, depending the traffic, evidently, you can recover much more the investment in only 1 year. It's for that, in my opinion, the fastest emissions cuts may already be under our wheels. We have the capacity. The industry of or the production of cars say that we are responsible of the cars, evidently, but the infrastructure play a very important role in terms of emissions. It's for that I repeat and I wait to give you special arguments. I wait to be next year to explain and to share this information. But I feel we are on the right way, not only in terms of economical aspect to prevent the assessment, or in terms of security. I feel we are, and this is the idea of this European Road Maintenance Forum, we are all another elements, another arguments to defend the importance of the maintenance of the roads. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan José, for this presentation. Thank you to all the speakers for their presentations, for preparing the presentations, for presenting, for coming to Brussels, being here today. I again want to remind the participants online to send some questions in. Of course, we will start the panel now, and I will check if there will be questions coming in, but at the moment it's very rare, so not so many. But we'll start with the questions, and I hope you will also join this and jump in. So Juan José, you were gave the latest presentation. So how is this developing in Spain? How is the uptake? So you have a very clear example with the M50 around Madrid, this 28 kilometers. How is this taken up in Spain? Is there already, can you see a movement? Is there your ideas? I know you're very active on the Spanish market, so maybe you can talk a little bit more about this. Can you already see some movement in the road authority side?
I feel we are very close to a big change in terms of the investment made in maintenance of roads. Evidently, if I analyze the past, especially from 2011 until now, the last 15 years, we are very down in terms of the typical the estimation of the investment necessary to preventive level and the reality. But thanks to these technologies, the digitalization, the cars, we have a lot of elements, a lot of arguments. And first thing, I confirm you, I made during my presentation, at level of the Ministers of Transport, they explore the possibility, and this is not only for the minister, could be a good argument, a good challenge for the rest of the administration of roads, the possibility to recover the savings of energy thanks to improve the condition of the wearing cars. This is evidently is a very, very interesting thing that give a lot of not only arguments, money, give money to invest on the roads, to invest on the infrastructure. Evidently, the second argument is the emissions. Emissions, I feel, is evidently we made in Europe a Green Deal. We talked several times about that, but I don't see a lot of panels, a lot of information showing which is the reduction made, for example, on the road. And for me, it's very important thing. Made an effort in terms of communication, showing thanks to a better pavement, we can reduce the emissions. Evidently, all the people here, we know, more or less, more than 20% of the total emission in Europe come from the road. Come from the transport.
From the road transport.
Exactly, exactly. Evidently, it's too much. And we have elements, we had a very good argument. And the third point is also an excellent point, in my opinion, to share with the citizen. I may explain in my presentation, why not to share this information with the driver? Thanks to our activity, thanks to our investment, you can do like this, you reduce 8.9 or 9.2. It depends. It's very easy to verify. We have very good arguments. My proposal is to push on this way. I feel we are much more than comfort and safety.
Yeah, that's the advantage for the individual driver.
Exactly.
He saves money, she saves money.
Exactly.
Yeah, and for the society, it's even better if we all reduce energy consumption.
Exactly.
I remember a study from Denmark many years ago, green SMA, green asphalt, low rolling resistance, a tailor-made asphalt surface to reduce the gas consumption. So CO2 directly, yeah, less fuel, less CO2.
Exactly.
So that was also, and that was made also from the Danish Road Authority, this study at that time, and they also showed that. But there's no, so we have evidence from all over Europe, even from the ministry. SATE is a ministry subsidiary.
Yeah.
And so the road authorities themselves, they know it. Yeah. And so, but how can we push this information to other countries, to other, also to Denmark sides and France? So my question to you would be, Wilfried, what is what the information that you provided with Route de France in France? What happened with this information? What does it mean? Is there any development seen in more finances, more funding for the road for the road network?
Yes, because what we have done in Route de France is in a general context we are thinking about how can we have money to finance the road. So in France, there is a particular situation actually. It means that motorways actually are under private companies. It means that they are making all maintenance, etc. But this, what we call concession, will start to be end at 2032 until 2037, if I not make a mistake. So there will be a lot of money because this money which was in the private sector will be in the public sector. And the most important idea we have is what we are going to do with these billions euros. And to know what to do, we need to have an estimation. It's why we have made this calculus. And Jean-Pierre Paseri, which is the president of Route de France, was make a presentation to the French government and saying that if we will have money, and we need to be sure that this money, which is the end of the concession, will go on in the road. Because if it goes in a very big part, we are not sure, but it will go in the road. As you said, road maintenance is not the priority for a lot of a project owner. And most important, for the city, which are less than 3,500 people, they don't have any obligation in terms of compatibility to have a special line affected to the road maintenance. It's meaning that if I am in a little village, I don't have any obligation to spend money on a special way of maintenance. And the reality is that at the end of the year, there are quite a money which is always has to be spent. So they has to make some work, but it's not that they don't have a very global vision. It's why we have made this calculus to give a vision and to say we need to have the values I show to you each year to be sure that the quality level of our network will be the same. And the fact you speak about the fact we'll be able to speak about money to the voters is, I think, is a very good argument. If you say you spend less money by with using your car, it's a very, very good argument.
Absolutely.
Any comments?
At the end of the day, it's always a question of spending money from politics. And the excess you did in Denmark, Jakob, is the best way. You have to get the people behind that project. It's always the same. The people see the potholes at the end of the winter time, but this is just the tip of the mountain. We, as civil engineers, know that the problem is much deeper, and we have to tell it to the people. At the end of the day, it's always a question of the image of road. And we see most citizens at the beginning don't want construction sites on the roads because they think this will bring traffic jams. And we have to tell to the people, hey, stop, we are working for you. We are working for your road. the road that you use every day. And we talk very much among us specialists, but we have to address ourselves to the voters, because at the end of the day, the voters pay for using the infrastructure, and they have to ask for better level of infrastructure. And I think this should be the way to get the people behind our ideas.
You give me my money back.
Yes, yes,
I
yes, I
taxes
paid
on
for
fuel,
it.
I take a toll, so give me my money back.
I
wanna have a
paid
good
for it,
service.
so I want to get.
This comes from the UK, by the way, that Margaret Thatcher, that many, many years ago to the European Union to give me my money back.
And I also
Yeah,
want to be safe. I mean, that was what the survey, the opinion poll showed, that people also want to be safe. It's also about elderly people moving around, being afraid of tripping and falling, injuring themselves. It's about parents wondering if they can safely send their kids out on bikes. As you know, Denmark is quite a bicycling country, so that's quite a big issue for voters. So it's all about finding those arguments that mean something for people in their daily lives. There are plenty of figures, I agree. But it's also a matter of the opinions. The politicians are employed by the voters, so it is the voters that decide. I completely agree.
I have two questions from the participants. For Jakob, I had exactly the same question. Your survey, the results of your survey, have they achieved higher road maintenance budgets, higher spendings? Do you see something like this? And a related question also from there is, do you think that this kind of pressure you build, this visibility in the newspaper and TV because of the survey, is this because of a situation that has to do with the political system in Denmark, which is quite similar than in Europe, because we have international auditoriums, so maybe people from outside Europe also ask. I don't know where the question comes from. So is it something that is only possible to put some pressure on politicians in front of the elections, because that you put that together, the survey and the election, which is ahead of them? And are there any more fundings? So these two questions, please.
Well, it's a bit too early to say whether this has affected funding or not. What we see is that the budgets for 26 have increased slightly. So for the first time in quite some years. Whether that is an effect of our campaign or whether that's just a blip,
of course it is.
It's too early to say. But of course, it's something that we will be following very thoroughly over the years, and of course that's also a key target for us to ensure that if the budgets are increasing, then at least we stop the bleeding, we stop the deterioration of the budgets. But that is actually not the main target. The main target is actually to be better positioned to have a discussion on road maintenance with the public, with the politicians, and with the people who decide. Then the other thing will be an effect of that. Whether that is a particular Danish system, whether that is a particular Danish thing, I cannot say.
Yeah.
I'm not positioned.
I would say the same. It's difficult to say that, but. Would you think it's possible to transfer this idea to all the European countries? So this approach, so the survey, yes, of course, I think it's a good example. So we can other countries can pick that up.
I hope so. I hope so. That is why I'm here to spread the idea.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we invited you, because we heard of that. Yep. So Juan José, want to say something?
Yes, I fully agree with you, Jakob. I understand. More than 10 years ago, I made a reflection, considering during the crisis, evidently we need to react differently. And I understand probably we are too much endogamic. We talk between us. That's good, but we are convinced before starting the message. And it's for that, you heard me several times, we need to make a very big effort in terms of communication. And communication for the citizens, not for the administration of roads. Administration of roads evidently is the next step in our chain of value of depending. But in my opinion, we need to go to the citizen, try to explain, do these kind of things, disseminate the message. And I discovered it's a question of time, like quite all the things on the life. If you push, this year was crazy for me, especially. Evidently, we find several things. First thing is the pressure of the media is 10 years later, you receive the comeback. And I was invited to the channels of television, first time, in a maximum audience in Spain, talking about the maintenance of roads. Wow. And you see the impact of the television. It's not the same. A big Congress, we are very happy. Wow, 1,000 people in this Congress. It's nothing. It's nothing. When you access to the channel television, when you access to the newspaper, when you access to the economical press. And my personal point of view is, I agree with you, we must communicate to the citizens and we need to share this information with the political guys. Only 2 days ago, I was on the Congress, in the Assembly of Spain, to talk, to push in the same way. To access to the journalist, you need to share the information to the citizen through the journalist, and the goal is the political guys. This is my point of view.
And I think we have to keep the messages simple. And I know that there are calculations, I don't have them on present, but if you calculate how much money every user of a car pays yearly by the taxes on fuel, by the taxes on the registration of the car and so on, we should calculate it and say every road user pays an average of a certain number of euros, and then he can say, hey, I have paid 500 euros. Where is the evidence? Where is that part of the road that I have paid for? So we should keep the information as simple as possible. We can't expect that the people think like we civil engineers do. The people on the roads, they only react if they see potholes, but we know the structural problem is way before. So we should give the people some simple information, some simple sentences like, you have paid last year this and that amount, so asked where the money has been.
Yeah.
Another big thing is to close the loop of financing of taxes and giving it back into the road budgets and not into the big households. This is always the same questions, but we should make the people ask for that the money that they have paid by taxes stays in the road system and not goes into the big household. That's the next big step.
Earmarked.
In France, we have elections 3 weeks ago on the municipal election, and we're working actually on the speech we want to have with the new teams, just to be sure that we will have some road maintenance, because this municipal election concerns the local networks, and the local network is a little one. It's not a very important one, and this mayor won't have money to create new roads, but they will need to have maintenance, and we're trying to have a very strong speech with them about the importance of road maintenance. Yeah. We'll see. The aim is the good product at the good place at the good time for the good cost.
Yeah. That's the philosophy of road maintenance.
Yes,
it should be like this. I have 2 more questions, and then I would like to close this panel. One question is for you, Wilfried. It's how did they measure in France the percentage of roads that require maintenance work?
In France, I say that we are working on a National Office Road. National Office Road is an association which is under the control of IDRIM. IDRIM is an important association in France, and they have make some estimation by different kind of indicators, The most important is what we call IQRN, which is quality indicator of national roads. It's what I show you in different colors, green, yellow, and red. And each year they have information coming from the different project owner. We are the owner of the road, and they have some person who make some information of the quality of the road, and they make this table, and they are making this for national road, departmental roads, because we have enough information and enough data. And they try to do it with local roads, but there are no many cities we are giving the information, so we won't be able. But for the national network, there's something it's very well done.
So you have a kind of evaluation system in place in France.
Exactly.
Like other countries also
Yes,
have.
it's what I call the report I show you in my presentation.
Okay, the last question, and I think this is the best person to answer this question is Ralph. Will the situation in the Middle East drive the cost of backlog and grade debt even higher?
This is for sure. As you know, bitumen, which is one of the major components of asphalt, has increased incredibly in the last 5 weeks. The price of bitumen has nearly doubled. So this will have a major effect on the costs of asphalt production and, by the way, also of maintenance. At the end of the day, this will reduce the volume of asphalt that will be delivered and paved this year, because the budgets say best case the same. So if we don't do nothing, this will be a major effect on road maintenance, and we have a major problem in the running projects because the costs explode. It's like it was in the oil crisis, and there is a call for action for the road authorities to discuss the way how to finance the running projects and how to finance future, because the costs right now have been nearly doubled.
Yeah, so that makes the life not easier of all the stakeholders in this field, unfortunately. Okay, so I have another question, but this question I think also fits to the next session. So thank you again to the panelists, the speakers, for being here today. And we make a short break because we have to arrange things here in the office, then new speakers will come in. And so we have a break of 20 minutes. So we start again sharp at 1200. Okay, thank you so far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the second session of the Road Maintenance Matters event from Brussels. For this next session, we have invited four speakers. I like to welcome Agathe, Steve, Breixo, and Davide. At first, we are pleased to welcome Agathe Daudibon. Agathe is the director of Eurovelo and cycling tourism at the European Cyclists Federation, ECF. She's in charge of coordinating the European cycle route network and brings 10 years of experience spanning cycling tourism and policy, including roles at Velo, Territoire, and Cerema. Maybe you have to explain that later a little bit more. She will show a quite different point of view on the road from the road user's perspective. Agathe, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Karsten. And I'm very happy also that cycling has been mentioned a lot in the first session this morning. So here is my point is to dive a little bit deeper in the cyclist perspective on road surfaces and quality infrastructure needs, but also, of course, connecting it with maintenance and the challenge of maintenance for us cyclists. First, who are we? The European Cyclists Federation. We promote cycling as a sustainable and healthy means of transport and leisure. So we cover both transport and leisure, and we harness the power of European civil society cycling movement. So our members are cycling organizations from 40 different countries. We have 70 members in total. We work on global advocacy as well, and we are 40 years old, so 10 years old younger than EAPA. I've noticed it. How do we work towards more and better cycling? Because it's our main priority. Indeed, we coordinate the development of the European Cycle Route Network. Eurovelo, you see the map there. So it's a network of 17 long-distance cycle routes, representing about 90,000 kilometers. And I will talk again about that regarding the infrastructure that those roads are made of. Another main initiative that we are running is Velocity, an annual event, an annual conference focusing on cycling planning and promotion. And the next edition is happening in June in Rimini, and it usually gathers about 1,500 participants. Now, our vision, ECAP's vision 2030, is focusing on different aspects of cycling to generate more and better cycling. We would like to double the number of kilometers cycled in Europe by 2030. That's our main goal, more cycling, but we want also safer cycling, and that's where it interacts also with the quality of the infrastructure, reduce the rate of cyclists killed or seriously injured in road collisions by at least 50% and towards the Vision Zero. That being said, of course, infrastructure is important in that matter, but also the interaction between cyclists and motorized users. We aim also for stronger political support for cycling to be treated as a fully fledged mode of transport and prioritized in the mobility mix. And regarding that aspect, we were very happy to have a European cycling declaration in 2024, recognizing also at European level the importance of cycling. Higher investment, we advocate for cycling to get 10% of national transport spend. EU should invest at least 20 billion euro in cycling by 2030. And our last point, very relevant for this event, is more and better infrastructure. So to create at least 100,000 kilometers of new cycling infrastructure to be built in Europe by 2030. Now, focusing on cycling infrastructure, what are we talking about when we refer to infrastructure for cyclists? ECF has been lucky enough to work on a project last year, Cycling Counts, which aim was to quantify to create a baseline on cycling in Europe. So we've been focusing on different aspects. One of them was the infrastructure. We also covered the usage, for example, safety, modal share as well. But here it was more relevant to focus on the infrastructure. Our first action was to define what is a cycle network, and especially what is a core cycle network made of cycle track and cycle lanes, for example. But we also considered extended cycle network, also including mixed traffic with moderated traffic, bus and cycle lane, for example, or low traffic roads. And here the results for Europe was quite interesting. We've identified that for the core cycle network, 5.8% of the total road network of Europe was from this core cycle network. And looking at the extended cycle route cycle network, it was 16% of the total road network covered by those. This is also quite relevant to compare with the usage of cycling, the modal share, because the higher the cycle network is represented in the total road network, the higher the usage will be. That being said, this is about cycle infrastructure itself, like dedicated and infrastructure aiming to influence the usage of cycling. But when talking about cycle routes, and especially long distance cycle routes, those, and I'm talking here also about Eurovelo. Well, the other graph on the slide shows that according to OpenStreetMap data, we've been extracting OpenStreetMap data on Eurovelo network, and those was equaling 73,000 kilometers of Eurovelo. So it's not representing the full Eurovelo network, but from those, it was 45% of the network on main roads. So meaning also that the maintenance of roads is also affecting cycling usage and cycle route quality in that sense. Now, what's our perspective on surface? Because for us also the maintenance is mainly focusing on the surface quality. What we aim for to encourage more cycling is good surface to cycle with any type of cycle, because it's not only bicycles, there's more and more cargo bikes, for example, tricycle as well. And the bicycle can have also more or less different types of tires, and then the impact on cycling will be quite important. We want also to promote cycling in all seasons, so to have good surface in all weather condition, and that's quite important for us. A smooth and comfortable surface is ideal, and while working on our methodology to assess the quality of cycle routes, the European certification standards, we've been defining 4 different categories of surface type. Asphalt, concrete, is one of them, blocks, slabs, and cobbles, stabilized gravel, and gravel dirt. You see on the picture the different types, and of course, the quality, sorry for the for the tables here, not really easy to read, but we've been assessing the quality and the conditions for cycling, considering the different type of surfaces. And of course, we aim for perfectly rideable surfaces as much as possible, but we are aware also that sometimes there's well rideable surfaces, moderately rideable, and sometimes badly rideable or not rideable at all, which is preventing cycling. And what we found out also, our position is that asphalt concrete is the main, the best category of surface type that is the only one enabling perfectly rideable conditions. Now, in terms of challenges for cycling surfaces, maintenance is one of them, but what we advocate for also is to define the type of surface of cycling infrastructure in a way that it will be sustainable and it could last for longer time and require less maintenance. And the main threats for good cycling surface are tree roots. That's one of the main problems we face on cycling infrastructure, also because vegetation is quite, there's a lot of that also along cycle routes or cycle infrastructure. Weather condition can also affect the quality of the surface of cycling infrastructure, drought, floods, or frost, but also large vehicles circulating occasionally on the infrastructure. It's not only about cyclists, it can also have other type of vehicles acting. And another point that we wanted to make also is that sometimes, especially for cycling infrastructure in natural areas, there's sometimes arguments against having asphalt or concrete surfaces implemented for environmental protection and environmental impact. But a couple of studies, especially from Germany and France, have shown that over time, paved surfaces can actually have lower environmental impact on from the surface rather than stabilized gravel, for example. So for the life cycle of the surface quality, it's actually better to aim for paved surface. Now, what are cyclists' needs from asphalt professionals? And that's a targeted message also for the audience today. Well, we are calling for more and better cycling infrastructure because it supports also more cycling. And I think we can have a joint interest in there. We've seen some of our members leading campaigns also to advocate for better quality and especially asphalt surface types for cycling infrastructure. And I think we can also join forces here. Now, in terms of innovations and technical guidance for cycling surfaces, what we are calling for is more resistant surface over time. We would like also to find innovations of how to protect surfaces from tree roots, as I was mentioning before, or extreme weather phenomena, because it's also growing. It's a growing aspect. I mean, with climate change as well, there's more vulnerability of the infrastructure towards extreme weather. Another technical question we have is when to use curbs and when wider surface base for cycling infrastructure, depending on the context. Can we have technical guidance about that? Optimal layering from different scenarios, or collect more knowledge and data on cycling infrastructure surface type, because sometimes the information itself is lacking and preventing also information from the users. Now, another point about innovations which we see usually in the media, because those innovations are buzzing, like solar panel surfaces of cycling infrastructure or lightning effects, like nice looking lightning effects. Well, we are not very convinced that this has a strong impact on cycling usage, so it's not our priority, and we would rather encourage innovations on the sustainability of the quality of surface. That's it about my presentation. ECF is a key partner for research and on cycling. We work on evidence-based advocacy. We run also coalitions and campaigns. It was really interesting to hear the presentation earlier about that. We like also to pursue innovative research and thought leadership projects and initiatives, and we provide tools, resources, and trainings as well. So very happy to partner with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agathe. Highly appreciated that you are here today and that you gave this presentation. Definitely there's room for collaboration, and we should really start this collaboration. As you see maybe here, the cyclists love asphalt, we already considered that. And you also mentioned the cyclists love trains, so maybe we can mix that somehow. Cyclists love asphalt also from your side. And I wanted just to mention, because you talked about comfortable and safe rides. So asphalt is if maintained properly, it's a smooth and even and safe surface. Yeah. So we are back at the maintenance topic again. And that at the end, then it's reliable. Yeah. Okay. So we will have the question and answers also after all these presentations. I just want to remind people online to send in questions and comments, which we can consider during the panel. Which brings me to the next speaker. Steve, you are not the first time here. And it's a really distinct honor to introduce you again in this context here. Steve Phillips is the Secretary General of the Conference of the European Directors of Roads, CEDAR. CEDAR serves as a platform for Europe's national road authorities, facilitating the exchange of expertise and collaborative discussions on all road-related issues. Yes, so it's not your first time, so you know how the procedure is. Everything's clear. I would say, Steve, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carsten, and thank you to the whole EAPA team and I think the community. Yeah, it is a pleasure to be back here. I mean, road maintenance is an absolutely key topic for all road administrations. Fundamentally, it's almost it is the day job of road administration, much more than a lot of other things. And in putting this together, I kind of wanted to focus a little bit on road safety and road maintenance for road safety, because ultimately that does link, as I say, the two key objectives of a road authority. Why are we doing road maintenance? Okay, part of it is maintaining the asset. We talked earlier about civil engineers, and civil engineers love to maintain their asset. But fundamentally, road maintenance is about keeping safe roads. And ensuring that, we heard earlier about the public, keeping the public safe, ensuring that whatever mode of transport, whether it is a truck, a car, a bus, a cycle, a pedestrian, that they are getting their journeys done safely and efficiently. So let's dive a little bit into that and what we're doing currently at CEDAR, because we have a bit of a focus on road safety right now. I mean, we've had a long-standing focus on road safety, of course. I mean, which road administration is not working on road safety? I think we heard a little bit focus about or discussion about Vision Zero, and it was a few years ago, that we signed published a position paper about the Vision Zero and how we can achieve the Vision Zero. It's not, I would say it's not just a vision, because we have to translate a vision into a plan. And I think a lot of things we talked about today, quoting very, very large numbers, but where's the plan of actually how to get there? And what are we actually doing to get there? So in terms of setting out this Vision Zero, at the time we focused on 4 key aspects. And one of the first ones was that road safety is a part of sustainability. We've heard a lot about environmental issues, but sustainability is more than just the environmental issues. If you look at the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, a lot of other things, but somehow road safety and those aspects tends to be forgotten in many of those discussions. So there was a look there is how do we improve some of the KPIs so that, if you like, the road safety KPIs, the road safety objectives are not lost or drowned out in all of the other priorities that we face. And certainly, I think if we talk about some of the economic evaluations, and I think there's been a number of studies that maybe shows that we don't value as a society, I'm not talking about road administrations, as a society, we don't place enough of a value on road safety compared with some of those other goals. The second part, and I think we also touched on that, was road safety for everyone. Now, CEDA is fundamentally the national road administrations, many of whom are almost exclusively motorways. But achieving Vision Zero on motorways is not achieving Vision Zero. There is no net zero in road safety because this is all part of one network, and what happens on one part of the network affects another part of the network. So there is an issue. Yes, we want the right vehicles, the right road users on the right roads. We want them on the safest roads, which tend to be the motorways, and not have any excuses or other reasons of why we're pushing vehicles onto the secondary road network, particularly, and I'll talk about this later, about when we talk about deviations as well. So fundamentally, we cannot take one part of the network and treat it in isolation from the other part. Road safety for everyone, of course, that does mean all of the different modes. And yeah, I think that the quote there was, that safety for one user should not come at the disadvantage of another road user, which is a challenge. It is a big challenge, we just heard about cyclists, and of course, one of the new issues right now is e-scooters, which maybe require a different type of infrastructure, and there's some challenges in how to accommodate that already. But then we've also got to take into account pedestrians and the fact that a whole range of vehicles need to be doing that. And then road safety by new technology. And that underlies, I think, one of the challenges where new technology has enormous potential to improve road safety, but only if it's considered right from the very beginning. And one of the issues, of course, there came in, the whole advent of automated vehicles, and I've seen some of the documents here in the EAPA offices about, platooning vehicles and new forms of vehicles. So unless we're actually considering road safety right from the start, there's a risk that actually we might be compromising road safety. So we've been very much pushing the idea that, we need to be focusing on what can we gain for road safety from the new technology and not introducing new problems. Now, coming a bit more up to date, a couple of years ago, Belgium and Flanders, in particular, under their CEDA presidency, pushed forward a Dublin Declaration on the aging infrastructure and the future-proofing of our road networks. Now, that is I think you can all understand, a huge challenge we face in Europe. Most of our road networks, certainly the bridges, the tunnels, were built from the 50s through to the 70s, 80s. And we've got a lot of challenges there. It's not only the fact that they're old, in terms of the aging infrastructure, but also maybe the design standards back then weren't appropriate for where we are now. Certainly, I can look, a lot of bridges maybe didn't take into account the needs of cyclists. We've got a whole lot of other issues in terms of climate proofing and how the climate is changing and affecting that. So there's a whole area there of how to actually future-proof the network. And coming more up to date, Cyprus, and I'm actually happy today, happy to say currently the CEDA president is also the presidency of the EU, not necessarily the same person, or maybe there is a slight overlap, but Cyprus is certainly very much focusing on road safety. And they did, as I say, focus this year on our work zone safety event, which was adopted as an EU presidency event. And work zone safety, I think, is very, very relevant to the discussions we're having here, because we're spending a lot of time talking about the need for road maintenance and how important road maintenance is doing, but we also have to make sure that when we are maintaining the roads, we are not creating problems for others, whether it be for the traveling public in terms of safety, but also very, very much in terms of the road workers, because we do, as I say, have huge concerns going forward. As I say, there is a maintenance backlog. The projections are we will have more roadworks across Europe, more roadworks on an already very congested road network. And so, what are we going to do? How are we going to accommodate both the health and safety requirements, protect the workers, and get this done safely? So, as well as, many of the other work zone safety events we've had in the past, there was a focus, on how you set up the cones, how you sign, all of the, I would say the core issues of roadworks. But then there was two newer issues, one of which was about planning and coordination. And that was elements actually going back through from when you first envisage the roadworks, who you start consulting with. So some of the discussions were, how do we consult better with industry? So for example, with the asphalt industry, well, we're going to have this big job. There's obviously going to be challenges in when we're doing it, So even before we go out to tender, actually, how do we have a discussion about what might the tender look like so that actually we're taking into account a safer roadwork as well? How do we take into account the deviations? Who do we have to talk about? And that's not, as I said, not just deviations of, the classic one is, where are all the trucks going to go when we close the motorway? Well, on the secondary roads. What impact is that going to have? When you're looking at others, where are this, I would say sometimes the forgotten road users like the cyclists and the pedestrians, making sure we're not only looking at the vehicular traffic. So it's trying to engage and bring about a much wider coordination and discussion about how we plan and come up with new ideas for the roadworks, even before we go out to tender. And that might even take into account, as I say, some of the tough choices. We're now saying, well, maybe sometimes it is better to completely close the motorway and get the work done in a short, sharp shock. Sometimes, well, actually, no, we need to take into account, need to keep that motorway open or that bridge, because there is no. So how do we actually then take into account the challenges and protect the road workers and the and those who are actually driving through the networks? And then the final one, which was very much about vehicles and people, and that focused a little bit on, I think one of the issues is road freight, particularly trucks, are one of the pain points often in roadworks. We had some terrifying videos of trucks crashing into roadworks and roadwork vehicles, and that's a challenge we have to deal with. And then we also had the issue of, how do we take into account new vehicle technologies? Again, are they taken into account from the very start? We've seen a lot of projects in the past of how do we have automated vehicles, driving through, driving on, let's say the classic one is, driving down a busy city street or driving through the desert. That's often what you see in terms of, but what we often see is the operational design domain of these automated vehicles often discounts roadworks because they're too complicated. Now, the argument there is, well, roadworks may be complicated, but actually if we can't crack the issue of taking automated vehicles through roadworks and actually use that as an opportunity to improve the safety of roadworks, then actually what we're doing is actually bringing about another level, another safety disbenefit to our networks. So we need to take that into account. So those are some of the elements that I think are very relevant, because I don't need to focus about skidding resistance and all the other things we need to maintain. We've got a lot of clever people in the audience and listening, so I don't need to tell you, I don't convince you about the importance of road safety. I'm just confirming that that's top of our agenda. I think what I would like perhaps to do is also focus a little bit more on the fact that as road authorities, if you like, the potholes and the cracks are the visible part. They are the part that maybe attracts the attention and everything else. And I think we just need to highlight sometimes that probably the majority of what we do is the invisible part of the maintaining of the network. And that might be as simple as the drains that stop the pavement from flooding, and therefore the cyclist can go through it. But it's also, as say, the strength of the bridge and makes that, so the bridge is not going to fall down or be washed away or have other issues. So one of our, I think, the challenges there is, how do we raise attention? And I think that's a topic we keep hearing already today. How do we raise attention of the complexity of the issue of maintenance? Because real maintenance, I want to stress that, real maintenance is not just cosmetic. I think we heard that, in one of the previous discussions about, fixing potholes. Well, is fixing potholes maintenance, or is that just patching? It's so there are issues there about how what is real maintenance and how do you actually extend the life of the asset and keep the safety.
Two other issues which I think are very, very important for all of us to consider, and maybe I'm stretching the word, but it's maintaining the funding for roads. I think, we're not going to be able to maintain the roads unless there is adequate funding. There is, let's face it, decreasing income from fuel tax across Europe, across the world. This is a global issue, and different parts of the world are looking at that. So we heard earlier, not only in France, but in many countries, the concessions are coming to an end. So that's an important part of our high-level network, where we're going to have to look at, well, how do we address that? And then we've also got questions about digitalization. So actually we're being asked to invest in a whole load of new things. And currently part of the question is digitalization actually, again, a new problem, or actually how do we change digitalization into the solution? Now, part of the new problem could be the fact that right now, anyone, if they have enough money, could go out there, could buy the data, and could report on the state of any road network that they wanted. The data is out there. We're operating in an environment of far more transparency than we've ever had. Now, in some respects, that might be good, but it's only good if we leverage that awareness, if we educate people and don't allow that data to be misused and used against the road administrations and against the public authorities. So one of the issues I think there is, again, is how do we take into account, and we've talked about the concept of digital governance. So in one of our activities, we were talking about the digital road manager, and we have digital traffic management, and you can understand we have digital infra management and all the asset management, etc. But also the digital governance of how do we actually not just educate, but act in a much more open and transparent way with the roads that we're maintaining on behalf of the public, and how do we make sure that data is used in the right way, and then can be used, I would argue, can be used to better convince, educate, support the public in saying, well, if you believe roads are important, then this is actually what it really costs. Because I think that's one of the challenges. We're often operating in an area of trying to maintain the budgets, but we've already heard that the cost of the maintenance is going up, the complexity of the maintenance is going up, the need for the maintenance is going up, and how do we actually educate and raise the awareness of what that actually means, and the kind of deep thinking I think we need to have about how we as society actually value our roads. Because currently we focus a lot on the cost of roads. We don't look at the value. And that's one of the issues which is often something we don't look at in other areas. Focusing on the value, not just on the cost. And the other aspect of maintenance, and I think this is also a thing that affects the whole sector, is maintaining our staff. We're not going to be able to do all this without staff. We have an aging workforce. We heard earlier about, we have a sectoral image. We work in a sector where mental health is not the best. If you look across the whole of the workforce, we have too many workers who self-harm, who are not looking after themselves. That compounds itself by the fact then often we can't recruit people into the sector to do some of the traditional jobs, and then you can compound that even further by the need for new skills. So when we're talking about maintaining a road network, I think, I really want to stress, this is not just about maintaining, sorry, Carsten, the asphalt, but the network and the infrastructure is about the roads, the infrastructure, the services they provide, the funding that's needed for it, and the people who actually do the work. And I'm glad that we've got so many of the people here in the audience here and online. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. It's very, very helpful to look at a different angle on this topic, and you did a great job in that. So I hope there will be several questions and comments on this also in the chat. And again, we will deepen this discussion and this topic at the end of the presentation. So thank you again, and that gives the possibility for me to introduce EAPA Director Breixo Gomez, who will talk about the new developments in the field of digitalization, connected to in the field of road maintenance and also some other relevant technologies. Breixo, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Karsten. So I think it's time now to talk about innovation. I always like seeing innovation as a bit optimistic point of view. Things are changing. It's clearly that in the sector are not changing at the pace it should be, or at least when we compare to other sectors. We have seen in reports like the McKinsey report that while other manufacturing sectors like textile and so or automotive have been increasing productivity by like almost 3% per year over the last 20 years. In the construction sector, we are around 1%. And this is clearly related to the lack of intake of new technologies, digitalization, automation, etc., etc. But as I said, I like seeing always these things from an optimistic point of view. Things are changing. A lot of innovation is coming to the sector nowadays, and it's very interesting the times that we are living. We could talk in this presentation about many aspects of innovation, from materials, construction processes, etc., etc. But because of time constraint, we have to somehow limit it to mainly digitalization is what we decided this year to have here. But I have also a couple of surprises maybe at the end of the presentation. So I will present also things that we have been learning in the EAPA committee of ASFA 4.0. It's a committee that we started just a few years ago, but has grown tremendously from just a few members to full room in every meeting that we have, and also with the level of outcomes that we have from the work there. It's at the same level that the traditional committees, and it's running really well. It's a very, I would say, one of the most important topics that we are handling now in EAPA. I'm putting here, this is an image of a webinar that we had last year, and it was an streamed event, a live event, but it's also on our YouTube channel. And it has, after the event, we just published the video, and it has already more than 4,700 views. And this is just to exemplify how this topic is actually drawing a lot of attention in the sector and beyond. And also another example is the International Conference on ASFA 4.0 that EAPA is supporting to the main organizers, which is the Spanish and the Slovenian Association. This year we will also have with the German Association. We will have the 5th edition in September. And it's also very interesting to see that it's an annual conference every year just on digitalization aspects. And it's a conference that has been grown also from the first year that was just 1 day to the second year was already 2 days, etc. So it has been growing also in number of participants. And just to show that, again, the big interest from these topics. In EAPA, we have published just last year, this document is a technical briefing on ASFA 4.0, which is a very comprehensive document on all the digitalization, well, not all, because every time that we try to publish it, there are already new things. This is a very disruptive topic. But we try to compile as much as possible the innovation, the digital tools, innovations, and systems that we have nowadays for every stage of the supply chain, even beyond delivering the road, even aspects on sustainability, asset management, etc., etc. So I really encourage everybody to download it for free on the EAPA website and have a look. I will pick for the presentation today the main technologies that we have there related to what we can do related to road maintenance works. And the first thing that also we have there is actually a definition of what is ASFA 4.0. I'm sure that in the audience still there are people a bit confused about what is actually ASFA 4.0. So actually this is a term that we defined after the concept, the broader concept of Industry 4.0, and is articulated around 3 main pillars. The first one is digital tools, which Industry 4.0, we could talk about Internet of Things, blockchain, artificial intelligence, etc., etc. When it comes to this asphalt sector, when it comes to ASFA 4.0, we have things like machine-to-machine communication, beam systems, all the things that we can have, and I will show in a bit. So sensors and other things that basically provide data, provide information. But then what can we do with all this data, with all this information coming from asphalt plants, delivery trucks, the paver, the roller, everything. So all this information needs to be somehow handled in real time by digital management systems. Systems are able to integrate huge amounts of information and dynamize the whole supply chain. So somehow when everything is interconnected and digitalized, the whole supply chain from the asphalt plant or even the raw materials to the pavers and the compactors, and when we deliver the road, it works almost like a 3D printer, a huge 3D printer with elements in different locations, but actually it works like that. And if something happens to one of the stages, everything can be readjusted in real time to make sure that everything is optimized and working properly. And the third pillar is the customer experience. With all these, we are really, really achieving unprecedented levels of customer experience. It's not just about delivering the physical road anymore, it's delivering the road and all this huge amount of information that can actually be exploited during the management, the asset management and maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. So we will have a look at all that. Starting by the asphalt plant, I won't get into a lot of details, but nowadays asphalt plants are completely or can be completely sensorized and digitalized from operations like planning and dispatch, connectivity. We can have dashboards and on the phone. We can actually control orders and what is happening in the asphalt plant, even at level of CO2 emissions right now, depending on the type of mix that's been doing with what materials, burning what fuel, etc. So everything is completely monitored and we can just change basically from our hand. So yes, you see dynamic addition of raw material, integrated maintenance management systems, traffic control around the plant, dry and dust, and so a lot of things. Everything is much better described in the document, but I just want to exemplify that we have a lot of things that we can do there. When we come to the job site, we have a smart pavers nowadays with instant mapping of surface temperature for quality control. So we have these mappings that can be then transferred to BIM systems, for example, for automatic documentation, where we have in different colors the exact temperature that we have in every spot of the road. So it's not just, let's say, pinching the asphalt when it's delivered. Now we have in every spot what is the temperature. And this is useful, one, for the client to know if things were done properly, also to know when things were not done properly, where we have to keep an eye during the maintenance because we can expect maybe some premature damage. So that is also valuable information, but it's also good for the contractor or the suppliers to prove that things were done well. If something happens afterwards, everything is documented and everything is done well. Yeah, so of course the new pavers, they have a lot of smart systems, even integrated artificial intelligence and things like that to optimize everything that is done. But also we have systems that improve safety in job sites. And Steve already mentioned something that is not the safety in job sites for us is not just about car accidents. That of course is tremendously important, but also with the things that we do with the machinery around. So these new systems are also helping to improve dramatically that. When it comes to compactors, to the roller compactors, we also have maps of them with different colors of what the operator is doing in real time. I remember when we started this committee a few years ago, the main innovation was that you could see in different colors the number of passes. So in one color, maybe when you pass one time is red. If you pass 2 times in the same spot, then it becomes orange, then yellow, and then the objective is to leave everything green. And this was already a big advance because it's about efficiency. It's like not doing too many passes when it's not necessary, or to make sure that non-spot has less or fewer passes than is required. But this evolved a lot. So a couple of years ago, we were talking about evolution with accelerometers and sensors that actually can estimate the stiffness of the pavement. So the colors are not about passes, it's more about how stiff and the varying capacity of the pavement. And nowadays we are talking about rollers with radar technology that actually measure the density of what is there, the voids and everything. So actually the operators just have to see on a tablet inside the cabin the colors and just basically make sure that everything is green. Some places 3 passes might be enough. Some places 7 passes might be necessary, but everything is basically the operator is in the minimum number of passes that guarantees that the density is the required one. So as you can see, the quality of all that is again at a level that we haven't seen before. Right. So once, as I said before, once we have everything producing information, everything can be managed in a centralized way by the data management system that includes the information from each stage, information from laboratories, also information from about the traffic situation right now for the delivery, information about the weather conditions, and all these can be processed by, let's say, computer software in a way that non-human being could basically do in real time. So everything is optimized, and everything can be dynamically readjusted based on whatever is happening at every stage of the supply. So at the end, we have something that is much more efficient. The quality is better, and as I said before, I always like seeing the whole thing as a huge 3D printer printing a road, right? We also have innovations in laboratory. I won't get into a lot of details, but we have from the mix design, from the production control, doing the production, and also for the field testing. And all these, so is integrated in the whole system and improving the real-time data exchange and automated adjustments, and even helping for the predictive analysis, analytics of what is going on about the production, where if we change something or whatever. And then we come to the asset management. So as I said before, when the road is delivered, it's not just the physical road that is delivered. And now it comes with all this information that was generated, even if it was for the sake of the production control. But now this information can be extremely valuable for the asset management afterwards, for the maintenance. For example, imagine that in a road network, we find that the same type of failure is happening in 3-4 different spots. Now, all the information about what happened in these 3-4 spots is transferred in a BIM system or whatever, where you can easily see what aggregate was there, what bitumen, what were the weather conditions, what was the temperature during paving, what was the temperature during the compactors, how many passes of the compactor, where was the density measured by the compactor. So everything is there. So it's easy to actually find what is in common, what is the source of the problem, and anticipate what other sections in the road network we have with the same problem, and focus or optimize the resources to maintain those sections. So this is just an example of how we can exploit the data coming from before and also after. We have this graph that you see there is, for example, embedded sensors in the pavements. That is another thing. And we have now the different level. We heard from data from the vehicles. I don't want to also anticipate because Davide will also talk about that, but it's, again, a game changer in the asset management that increases transparency and the monitoring of just not a few spots, but what is going on in real time, all across the road network. And of course, we have artificial intelligence nowadays, even to optimize part of the resources. So this is not the end. Recently, in one of our meetings, we had participation of the people from the Omicron project, which is a huge project funded by European funding, and is specifically on the digitalization of maintenance operations for road infrastructure. And it includes from the digital inspection with drones, robots, things like that, to digital twins, the tools for the decision making, for the optimization of the maintenance and everything. And also a lot of very interesting initiatives related to the implementation of the works from robotics and things like that. In fact, I show in this slide this robotic arm that is able, for example, to move safety barriers in work zones, cones, things like that, which are also always very critical for safety of workers. So this is something that helps to minimize the number of people that physically need to be on the road lane when there are cars passing by. And once you have this robotic arm, actually this can be also used and was tested, for example, to seal cracks or remove painting, like signaling, or do cleaning of the surface, things like that. And as I said, so it's a way of also increase safety for the people. we have seen that they have estimated the impact, and what they have seen according to different KPIs is that all these technologies can significantly reduce accidents. It can reduce traffic disruption time. They can reduce maintenance costs because everything is optimized, and also they can increase network capacity. And in fact, they have been publishing different papers and even some pre-standardization actions, which also shows that it was a successful project, and specifically, as I said, on road maintenance. So, and I would like to finish. It's not really a digitalization, but somehow related to that is the area of electrification. In the last committee meeting, we had some very interesting presentations about electrification of asphalt plants, how we can use the energy during the time that the energy costs less, or even when the energy comes from renewable sources, and use it when we don't have these sources, even in very smart ways. For example, not storing the electricity, but storing the heating in the materials that we already have to heat anyway for the production. So these are very clever ways that asphalt plants are doing nowadays. We also had a presentation where we saw a video of job sites where the machines are electric, and actually it's astonishing how the lack of noise that we are so used to it. You can actually hear some squeaks of machines that normally we don't hear, and how silent it is. This technology that I want to show also is a bit in between, because it has is a technology that is for pothole repairing using microwaves. So it's kind of opening the door also for the electrification of an operation that is a pothole repairing, which we will feel that everything has been invented already for pothole repair. We have been doing things very similar for many decades, but even for aspects like this, there is a lot of room for innovation, and we're seeing like with things like this. So, for example, with this technology, there are three main components, which is the machine to hit the pavement with the pothole with microwaves. So no need of flames, of producing fumes and this kind of thing. So in parallel, heating heating asphalt in microwave furnace or ovens, and then we have these packs of asphalt mix already. It's hot mix asphalt, but at ambient temperature that they just heat in the microwave oven. So basically, the process is to first prepare a bit the pothole, then heat it with microwaves, in parallel heat the asphalt packs, and then put it there and finish the work. And we are seeing very good results, and in a more clean way, I would say, and very efficient. And so it's also another thing that I think it was worth it to show, because, as I said, even for pothole repairing, we have excellent innovations nowadays. And I would like to finish by inviting everybody to the E&E event that we will organize in June this year, because we have already at least a session on digital aspects and all this innovation, but we will definitely talk about innovation and a lot of aspects all through the event. So I would like to invite everybody to join us in Vienna. And also in September, that was in June, in September, we will have the next edition of the International Conference on Asphalt 4.0 in Madrid. And that is a specific conference specific on the digital aspects of Asphalt 4.0, so the digitalization of the asphalt paving sector. So I hope to see many of you there, and the people online also coming to there and join us. Thank you, and I leave with this. The links to the webinar is online, and also to download the EAPA document.
Thank you, Breixo. Thank you for this information about the latest developments in the field, in the broader field, not only road maintenance, but yeah. We are already running a little bit out of time, so I don't want to put pressure on the last speaker, which is really unfair, I know. I have been very often the last speaker of the panel. So, okay. But Davide, you will have all the time in the world to give your presentation. I know you are sharp, and that you will manage that. So a warm welcome to Professor Davide Lo Presti from the University of Palermo, and the co-founder of the startup Smart PMS. He works on transport infrastructure, chairs Road LCA 2026. I'm sure we will hear about that during the presentation, and coordinates a European Masters program. With his presentation, we are closing the loop. We are going back to the municipalities now, to the cities, and I'm really looking forward to your presentation. Davide, sorry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carsten. Thank you, Breixo. Thank you, all the EAPA, for allowing me to be here, because for me it means a lot. We work a lot in universities, but I think we should spend much more time in communicating what we do and trying to understand how to implement a lot of the thinking that stays behind the desks. So whenever my presentation is ready, for people that are online, okay, thank you very much. So today I'm just going to try to be quick, but the story is really what brings me from being an associate professor at the University of Palermo, a city that doesn't really have as strength the quality of road surfaces, to smart PMS, which is something that is just born, and I'm trying to explain why, how, and what. What we do at the university, my small research group, and with all the colleagues there, is trying to understand how to implement sustainability in transport infrastructure. How do? We identify hotspots with sustainability assessment. We know where we can have better technology or product or processes and trying to develop something. And one of the driver of this journey is actually something published in 2016, which is a directive that many states should actually consider what is a sustainable pavement. And there are 2 points that for me are very important. A sustainable pavement, first of all, it's something that takes care of emission coming from daily traffic, okay? This means something called rolling resistance, we'll see now, and congestion. But something else that is also important, which is the durability of road material. But another thing that is saying there is the road maintenance, no? It's a complex network of planning strategies that include in the assessment of what comes next, right? So we should plan this properly. So what are these problems? For those who don't really know about the technical part, but don't worry. Let's think that the problem one is about smoothness of a road that we tend to measure with something called IRI. At least this is part of the measurement. So imagine this wheel now that measures millimeter over a meter. And the rest, well, is emission that comes from the traffic and congestion. For instance, those linked to the actual road maintenance. So these are the 2 main problems, okay? Then we can improve each of the life cycle stage, but I will say that we should first tackle this. And I think one of the speakers before said it clearly. A solution already exists. They're called pavement management systems. What it is, I monitor my asset. I see some engineering parameters that tells me what is the health. And then I use some planning, and thanks to the optimization of the planning, I can also optimize my decision making. Okay, it exists, it's not new, but we have different system that has been used so far to do the monitoring part, which are quite expensive. Okay, we have laser profilometer. We are talking about few hundreds euros per kilometer to have one measurement. Okay, one spot. I need to do this in the planning regularly, so I can do this many measurements over the year. So it has a high to moderate cost. But now, Breixo told about some of the technology. José Potti said before, we have many technologies, and some of this, we'll say later, are connected vehicles, but there are others that can complement that, can allow to reduce that monitoring to moderate and low cost. And we are talking about a few decades of euro per kilometer per year. Okay, I repeat it, per year. We have real-time monitoring of many data for 1 year, not one spot. Right, so, well, maybe this is gonna take PMS to another level. And that was our idea. So what is behind it? Well, let's see that I come from this part of the world, guys. Sicily, we have national roads that are pretty good, but then there's the city, and it's a big problem. This is specifically my city, but I think I'm not the only one in this room. So what I can do about it? And how big is this problem? Well, I use one of my new friends that some people have. And I just say, look, can you tell me what do you think is big is this problem? Of course, by looking at some good reference that I selected. This is one of the suggestions I give to use AI. I just go directly to the answer. This is a table, and you have motorways and national roads on one side and regional and local roads on the other side, okay? I will say that the second part, and you will agree with me, not a lot of people are taken care of. We use regular measurement and monitoring in motorways and national roads, but not a lot on the other side. And how big is the problem? Well, this is some of the definition, but let me just go to this. Regional and local roads are between 85 and 95% of the network in Europe. I just leave the number there. So I thought, well, maybe we should do something about it. And maybe we have now the right vibe, time, understanding, and technology to do that. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about an immense continuous monitoring of our roads that goes to the network level, continental, national, regional, to the city level? Okay, this is my city. And this was probably a couple of months ago. It's not good looking because you already realize an heat map and you know what red is and what the green is, right? That's exactly what we're trying to do. To use this as an asset management tool, but also as a communication tool for people. They can democratize allocation of resources. So what we're trying to do is to go from what we call reactive maintenance. Oh, I see the hole, I see something to do, and I go there and spend my money, that we know it costs much more than doing proper planning, what we call proactive maintenance. But to do proactive maintenance, you need that the road is going to speak to you. And so what we're trying now to do is that we understood, because we know that we are in this planet because we are sensors. Okay? We just go around and just monitor whatever is around. And what is the best sensor for our roads if not the user themselves? So we are in the time where the drivers are not actually just possibly blaming the road manager because they get a bump. But maybe they can understand if they get that bump, they're actually giving an information more to the road manager to take care of that road. We are monitoring our road now. And we need to put this a system and a service to people for proactive and predictive maintenance. So what we're saying is that we want to take this technology in particular, which is connected vehicles, but also everything else that comes and we can use with the mobiles, videos, and artificial intelligence together, to go towards proactive and predictive maintenance. And what does this look like? Well, this is just a flow. We go from connected vehicles, we take a database, and then we possibly use, with the computer guys, we try to make two tools, at least, that I'm going to show you today that I think could be very useful. The quality map and the intervention list. What is it? Well, imagine you have this type of tool as a road authority, and you know where you, at least how they look like. But then you start having personalized for your city and for your area, for your quarter or the whole city, you know each arch of the network, what is the situation, and we can together find currently what is the situation, or possibly, thanks to the fact that we have historical data, we can also predict what happened in 6, 12, 18, 12, 24 months. I want to predict it for more because I think it's possibly wishful thinking. But the point is that thanks to this type of continuous monitoring, we can start having average data for an area of the city, average data for the city, average data for each council of a region, and possibly having some incentive-based system that will allow to allocate better money. So at the end of the day, what we can provide then, because now we're talking about services, and I wanted to highlight that, is that what we're trying to do, that we understand that we can make sense of this data, But if I give this data to a city council that already has a lot of problems of understanding how to allocate money, they now also have to have competencies to analyze this big data, this new technology. So I say we take some of the stake and we offer the services. Okay, and this is exactly what is Smart PMS. Trying to understand together how to make sense of this data. Do you want to reach a normal threshold for your network, or you just want to go for the best road possible? That is the list of intervention and your priority. So to arrive to a conclusion, we want to go above reactive maintenance. It's not just we, it's everyone we know, but I think now we do have not only the mindset, but also the technology to do that. How we can use this? Well, national road, some is already doing, Sweden is already doing. We have some expensive in Spain, but we should monitor network wide everything and have this at service to understand from the safety level, no? What is the friction, for instance? Why not just close the lane whenever I have a certain level of friction? It's not safe enough. And roughness, which is, we can argue in other places that the roughness we measure with connected vehicle is not exactly the roughness we have in a standard and whatever. We can have the discussion, and as academia, we have to tackle this, and we are doing. But whenever I talk about trends of measurement and statistical value of thousands of vehicles passing on the same spot, well, I think we have a pretty big argument to say that we can give some go to this type of data. So doing two national roads, perfect, but urban and local roads, we can use this data to hotspot places where we can go and do better analysis with other measurement, visual. I don't want to take people out of the equation at all. We can talk about it later on, probably. I have a point for you, Steve. And maybe we can do this for the whole city, for each area, we can sit and realize. The other point was durability. As a payment engineer, people tell me, what is durability? Well, durability is something of a build component, but how do we measure? Still don't know. But durability for city, I think, is even more difficult. But maybe, thanks to this data, durability becomes what is the certain level of functional parameters we offer to the user. Okay? Above that level, for us, it's not durable enough. Regardless of what is the actual mechanical components, we want certain service. And now we can do this. So I leave you with this provocative point. Why don't metropolitan cities or big area use this predictive maintenance system and use to compare different parts of the region and possibly trying to understand what is the efficiency of spending 1 million euro for that area compared to another area. When you start to compare, you can actually start possibly virtuous cycle. So this type of technology can also be used, again, to allocate better resources. That's it, Carsten. I hope I was in time, but before giving back to you, please, I just take this to say that our next step is that now this idea became a service. Smart PMS is also an S for service because we want to support any city council that wants to do this at Europe-wide, even though we start for this nice big old island of Europe. And this nice big old little island Europe is going to host a conference which I'm very proud about. Road LCA is called, where an experience of 15 years started from a workshop in Europe and grow in the States, now is coming back in Europe to hold that big actors that made sustainable pavement possible. And we will discuss this now with a worldwide opening. So we will have example of sustainable pavement from roads, railways, airports, with guest speaker from whole planet. And we hope this would be, a conference where people can meet, understand, and contribute how to make sense of this sustainability assessment, which is something that is not that tangible, but I think should drive decision-making as we're trying to do. With this, I really thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Davide. Very interesting, and a good closing from the presentation side for all the set of presentations we had today. And also, thank you for sharing the information about the pavement LCI.
Road LCA.
Yes, yes. The road LCA at this point, road LCA 2026, yeah. We have received questions for the first block, and that was exactly what you showed. You showed a map with green, red, orange, etc. So different levels of the road condition. And there were two questions which were quite the same. Why don't we have this on the website or publicly available, this information for the road users, for the citizens? This is something I'd like to ask you, and so people can see the current state, the condition, and the development also. I think some countries, some very few countries, have this information available from the National Road Network. Sweden, can it be? Sweden has that, but Germany would never disclose this information, for example. So, why don't we have that? Well, the technology is there. You showed that, and also in the last two editions of this Road Maintenance Matters events, colleagues from Spain showed the same, collecting vehicle data, sensor data to predict condition. So, question to you: how do you? Why don't? Could that be a feasible way? What is the obstacles? What is the benefits of that? So,
thanks for the question, Carsten. So, I've been tackling this point recently, and yes, we do have great examples. Sweden is one of those. Basically, you could see the whole country road network, and it's public available, so people can see the condition of their road next to their city. I would say it's not necessarily local roads. And then I thought about doing something similar in Italy, and where I am, and I start to talk to people, and I start to see that some owners are afraid to say, "Oh, that's the condition of my road," and people can start complaining, and I understand that. Some other owners could simply not yet understand the shift and the revolution that this can provoke, and so there is fear. So I think the tendency as society is to arrive to that, and we will arrive at that. I think we need a transition, and people that support whoever it's managing the asset to give the right information to people. So translate all this in something that is useful and is not an occasion for, again, politicizing the people, okay? So we have to give the right information, and that's what we plan to do. And also take all this data and use it for asset management. So I will say that from this information, you can split some for communication to people that give the right to see what is, how the money are spent, but some other are to actually improve the government machine. And to do that, you need support for managers, for cities. You need someone that try to take the juice out of the information. So the reason why it's not happening yet, I think, is because this culture is being built. Understanding how to interpret this data is being understood, and we hope to be part of this change.
what is the point of view from the national road authorities on this? Or would you have any comment on that, Steve?
I think that obviously there is a trend to move away for very practical reasons from, the kind of routine monitoring of the road networks with expensive equipment and dedicated vehicles, et cetera, to using connected vehicle data. There are some good examples, and some countries are launching big programs, and there's a lot of discussion between the different road authorities about how to do that. I think from one maybe immediate reaction I have to Davide's point, and maybe I'm jumping in on behalf of my colleague here, is I'm I'm a bit worried, you know, some of the earlier examples we have of collecting floating car data tended to be from the vehicles that were connected at the time, which tended to be high-end vehicles, which then tended to, shall we say, overemphasize asphalt problems or pavement problems in the richer parts of certain areas. So it was kind of missing or underrepresenting some kind of roads. Now, the analogy I would take here is, if we're particularly looking at urban roads, is how we're going to capture the parts of the road pavement, the road carriageway, which are more important for bicycles. Because if we're only capturing car data, then maybe we're missing something. I'm not dismissing this, because maybe there is an issue there. So we have some great examples, for example, using AI with forward-looking cameras from vehicles. So how do we move away from just using the accelerometers and the ABS in a car to detect things, to actually nuance and fill out the data? So as David says, we need to make sure that this is relevant and realistic and useful and actionable, I would say, and not just something that could be misleading.
It brings me to a question which is also was raised in the chat. Is enough data available from cars? Is it, you mentioned the selected group of cars providing information. Is the data source big enough?
Very good question. They're both connected. So I give you a direct example. In my city, I can have this monitoring because 10% of the fleet, more or less 10% of the fleet, I'm not going to disclose why, what, but 10% of the fleet is going around and give us measurement. Is this enough? There is no one who is doing any measurement in the city. So we're going from 0 to 10% of the fleet. It's going continuously around, okay? Getting data, passing from the same point. So I think it's a big step. Is it enough? We have to understand. We have to understand this data yet. We have to understand the validity, how they change, okay? Whether they're better in the richest part of the world or not. Yes, at the moment, because the fleet is better, considering that you have these vehicles that are from 2015, 16 onwards. You have vehicles that have enough sensors in them to give us not just rough data, but they give us the parameters that we need as a pavement engineer. So it's changing, it will change. And I do hope, I do know that it also will change from car space to your space, whether it's for cyclists or e-scooter, you know. These are now connected vehicles. That's why I don't like floating cars, just connected vehicles, because but the vehicle can be anything. And yeah, just to finish, it can be anything, and I hope that the next step is actually to partner up with this type of association in scooter and try to still have the same idea of smart PMS, but with different sectors.
Is there any comment from your side?
Yeah, just in terms of databases that we can use to inform the users, because indeed that's a main challenge when working on cycling counts and on cycling data. I mean, one way could be to collect data from connected bicycles, but it's probably even a lower share of the bicycle fleet. Another way is also to look into navigation tools. So there's a lot of navigation tools, but again, there's a lot of bias in terms of type of users, and also the data is not easily accessible. So what we've been focusing mainly on was public data also, I mean, public databases. And I think that's a major aspect of things as well, and connected to open data. So how to make this data accessible, but also what type of stakeholder are collecting the data and making it as accessible. So are we using the same standards, for example, Europe-wide? This is a major concern for us. And we work also with national access points on cycling specific data to work on having unified databases. And the result of our work on that topic was actually to look into OpenStreetMap, because that's an open source type of data, and that was the most exhaustive, even though it's not completely exhaustive. But yeah, we are reaching a point also in big data where we have to cross different sources of information, and for the moment, the number of connected bicycles are not sufficient to really focus on that to collect information about cycling infrastructure.
Very interesting that you already looked into this, also the big data from your client's point of view. Very interesting. Breixo, you want to add something?
You want to say something, Steve, related to, because what I wanted to say is actually that, I mean, we learned in the first session that there is an interest from the people, like Jakob said, show that there is an interest from the people about the status of the roads. Juan José mentioned that by the first time we're generating data that supports all the messages that we have been saying so far. Now what David is showing, this kind of tools is kind of democratizing, I don't know how you explain, like involving the people, actually people getting involved in measuring, in monitoring, in having the data accessible. They are part of the system. I think this is fundamental to create the powerful narrative that our sector needs. If we see other successful sectors, and here we can include the bicycle the sector, for example, that they had this narrative that reached the people, that the bicycle is clean, the bicycle is the future, the bicycle is good. And now as a result, they're expecting 100,000 kilometers of new infrastructure by 2030. If we see the automotive sector, they are the solution for all the CO2 emission. We have to invest in electric cars, and that is the solution. Or if we see the rail sector, now it's also the green alternative, and now we are seeing investments like 10 times higher than for road infrastructure. And so we need a narrative. We need to get involved the people. We need to really reach the people, the voters, and the policymakers that are actually behind these decisions. Because in this room, we all know this information. But if you get out of the street there, like no one knows about anything. So I think this kind of tools and that involves the people will really help to reach that, I think.
I just wanted to actually go back to one of the issues of how digitalization will connect different parts of administrations, but also administrations and industry. And I think that's one of the areas that maybe we're not focusing enough on, how we actually break down some of those barriers. So just as a little segue, we talked about, is there enough data? You walk outside and you'll see cars driving around all the time with cameras on because they're checking the parking. Now, wouldn't take rocket science to use the same cameras with an AI to detect all the condition of the pavement. But the point I'm making is, Davide was talking about predictive maintenance, and I think this is part of the, I guess, breaking down some of the silos. This is not about, we flagged up a problem and all of a sudden, almost like a first responder, someone rushing out with blue flashing lights, to fix it and get it. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is more intelligent asset management, so that when we are going out to do work that we would have done anyway, so it could be as simple as cutting the grass, or it might be repairing damage to something, that we are doing all of the other tasks at the same time. And I think it's getting those things together. So that we hear examples of the utilities companies cooperating. So if one is going out to do electricity and digging a hole, okay, who else can go in and do works at the same time? So it's plugging all of those different things in, and I think that's maybe is the core of what we're talking about. Of what we mean is, when there's an opportunity, you get there and do it. You don't just, as I say, there's no one on fast response necessarily to go out and fix a small crack.
And connect to what Breixo was saying, I think digitalization is a driver of that. So yes, we do have worries and concern related to data center, energy emission that we have to solve. I think in Europe, we are in the best position than some other colleagues around the planet. But digitalization, it's allowing us to understand that we are part of the system, whatever system we're talking about. So you drive your car and you give data to monitor a road. You drive a bicycle and you give data to possibly monitor not just the road, but also the green next to the road, or whatever is the road signals. Because I just mentioned about roughness, but this technology gives many other type of data that we can use in these boxes that we can put at services of people. And digitalization is the driver of, for me, also engineering sustainability.
Yeah, I think once you have these maps that you were showing about the roughness, why not you can have a similar map, just playing a bit with data and some correlations, data of, so the colors could be the extra fuel consumption that you have in your car if you go on this street and not the other one, or the emissions that your car, extra emissions if you go on this street and not the other one, or safety, or so. And that is much more powerful maybe than IRI or so that no one understands. And it's there. The data is there. It was the most difficult part, is to get the data. We are now living in times that the cars are providing this, and then the correlations with the others, we already know about that. So I think this, as I said, this is very, very powerful to really finally build a powerful narrative that really reaches the key stakeholders and policymakers and the voters and people. So I really think so.
What can I say more? That was a good, not final closing, but a good closing, I would say, of this panel. Thank you so much for being here, coming to Brussels from all the way down from Palermo.
Pleasure.
Yeah, up.
It's not that far.
It's not that far. Okay, so thank you for being here, for preparing the presentation, taking your time, and this very lively debate, discussion that we had, and also the almost closing words from Breixo on this. We need to have a narrative. I sat down and tried to summarize the 7 presentations with just one sentence. And some of the sentences were already on some of the slides. So you will recognize some of the wordings. And I think that's a good summary of that, what we had today. So please allow me to close the day, this event with 7 sentences and some goodbye words. So I will start with that. So the 7 presentations we had: data-driven advocacy plus strategic timing, which is elections, can shift road maintenance from a neglected budget line to a visible political issue. The fastest emission cuts are under our wheels. Better services are essential to making cycling a viable everyday transport choice. Safe roads depend on sustained, not superficial maintenance. Data-driven maintenance is transforming roads from reactive assets to predictive systems. Delaying maintenance is economically insufficient and creates a growing gray debt. Predictive maintenance makes smarter road spending possible. So I think this is a lot of predictive maintenance today. So that's what digital tools and digitalization might lead us to and bring us to. So I have 2 more claims for all of us, and it's not just for certain groups of that. Investing in road maintenance is investing in sustainability, and one which Steve mentioned before: spendings in road maintenance are not a cost; it is a value, an investment in the future. So thank you again, people online, all the participants, sorry, people here in the office. We have a small auditorium also in the office here, the speakers of the first panel, and it's time to say goodbye from Brussels to Europe and the world. Stay healthy and stay connected to EAPA and especially to the International Road Maintenance Day. See you latest in 2027 for the next Road Maintenance Matters event. Thank you, stay curious, and goodbye.